Right, so in today's video, what we're going to be doing is kind of wrapping up the autumn lawn care sort of plan that we put in place this year. We've kept things very simple on this channel. We've not really renovated anything. We've done a little bit of aeration, we've done a little bit of top dressing, and today it's going to be about feeding and also talking about the length of your grass as well. What's kind of a good length to leave it at over the winter, just to ensure that you get as little dieback as possible. But before we actually get on and feed, let's have a bit of a recap as to how the lawns are looking and talk about how long we're going to be leaving them this autumn. So we may as well start off with this lawn out at the front, and to be honest, this is probably the best of the three at the moment, and that's mainly because it's pretty much in full sun for the entire day still, which is meaning that it can thrive, it can continue to grow whilst we've got some fairly decent temperatures. If we get right in over the top of the sward, you can just see how unbelievably dense it's looking at the moment. The stripes are looking boss, the colours looking boss. So for this one, we are going to leave it a little bit shorter than the two at the back, and that's simply because of where it is. With it being in the sun all day, that sun's going to help with evaporation, so it's not going to sit too moist even when we do go through some wet spells. But because it's like full sun for pretty much the entire day, it's still going to be actively growing much later into the autumn. So even in like sort of the back end of October time, start of November, we're still probably going to get a little bit of growth out here at the front, because we certainly did last year. I've been cutting this at 20mm for the past few months, and I am going to keep it there for the time being. And I don't really think I'm going to raise it any higher because I don't really need to. However, in the back garden, I'm going to be letting these two lawns grow a little bit longer than they usually would be. So you can see straight away that with this lawn here, we've got much more length knocking about. You can clearly see that at this time of day now. It's sat in the shade, and same kettle of fish for this fella as well. Up at the top, they're getting very little sun at the moment. We're only getting probably a couple of hours at most, and within the next few weeks, they're going to be getting pretty much zero sun for the entirety of the winter. You're talking like probably March time by the time, or back end of March, early April, by the time these sides over here get any sun again. So they're going to be on the struggle, they're going to be on the decline. So that's going to mean that I'm going to want to leave the height cut just a little bit longer than usual, just to help it cope with sort of the stress of being in the shade. So this one we've been cutting at around about 15 to 20mm for pretty much the entire spring and summer. However, I've brought the height of cut up recently to around about 25mm, give or take. So it's not a massive increase, but that little bit of length just means the grass is going to be a little bit stronger, a little bit more resilient. And the longer the grass plant, almost like the stronger the root system, in a sense, particularly through winter. And the same sort of thing goes for this lawn up at the top as well. Now, this is the one that, if you've been on this channel for a while, you'll know that we had as pretty much like a golf green at one point. We had it down to 5mm, and at the moment it's being cut at 15mm, so it's 3 times longer than it's been in recent weeks. We've got a few worm casts and things, and that's why it looks a bit patchy. It's not patchy, it's quite literally just the worm casts that we've got. And despite this being cut shorter than the one at the front, it's longer than it's been for the majority of the past few months. So if we do get more dieback on this lawn this year because I've cut it a little bit too short, then it's just food for thought for next year to say, well, next year let's leave the height cut a little bit longer. But I think 15mm out here would be absolutely fine. Now, if you don't want to get really specific about the actual how many mils your grass is, or centimetres or inches or whatever, you don't have to. You know, the general rule of thumb is just leave it longer than you've been cutting it throughout the year. So I'm saying I'm leaving that at 15mm. If you've been cutting your grass at like 30mm this year, then don't hack it down to 15, because I'm leaving mine at 15. If you had yours at 30, let it go to 40. If yours has been at 20, let it go to like 25, 30. Just kind of extend, put 5-10mm on top of what you'd usually do. Or if you're not going super specific, then just go 1 notch up on your lawnmower, maybe even 2, to make it just that little bit more resilient. Now, the general rule of thumb when it comes to feeding your lawn in autumn is just don't get on with anything with too high of a nitrogen level. And the reason for that is that Nitrogen's going to promote a lot of growth in the plant, and if the temperatures aren't there, it's not got the right amount of sunlight, then you're going to be almost trying to force growth, but that growth isn't really going to be able to happen because of the lack of sun, and the plant's going to become really stressed, and that's going to result in much more dieback. So although feeding your lawn might make it look better for the next week or so, you're actually going to do a lot of damage to it in the long term, because again, like I've said in all these autumn lawn care videos, what we do now isn't about making the grass look good today, it's about helping it to survive through the winter. So in terms of the feed then that I'm getting on with today, we're going with what we've been using all year, and that is True Grass. Now I'm not 100% sure on the percentage level of nitrogen in True Grass, but what I do know is that it is quite a low percentage. It's not high at all, because this product is more of a soil conditioner. It's there to improve the microbial activity. If you want to get your grass right, you get your soil right. I mean, not a sponsor, nothing like that. It's just a really boss product, because you can use it pretty much all year round, and it's not going to promote a lot of excessive growth. And what I am going to do is get on with the lower application of this product. So usually I get on with 50 grams per square metre, but instead what I'm going to do is get on with 30 grams per square metre. So it's a little bit less, but again, it's for those reasons I've just said. Waste the money, waste the product, stresses your lawn out. Right, so it's been exactly 7 days now since we got on all 3 lawns with the feed. I've not given it a cut since, because my wife recently gave birth to our firstborn, and to say that I've not had any sleep would be a little bit of an understatement. So yeah, not really had the time to be getting out and cutting the lawn, but you can see we've got quite a lot of length in there now, so I do need to take this down a little bit today. Same kettle of fish goes for obviously the one up at the top, so nice and lush down here. This one, I mean, because I've not been able to cut it, it is a little bit longer than I would have liked, but nature of the beast, isn't it? Not really much you can do. Not going to be taking tons off it today. And again, this lawn's looking great. We've got a really nice density still. We've got loads of growth on there, and this lawn, it might be its last feed. I don't know, we'll see. I might get to the end of October, I might potentially put something else down, like a really light application again. I don't know, it's food for thought. We live and learn. We can try it. If there's a little bit of damage, we know not to do a similar thing next year. But less waffling about that. Let's get the lawnmower. Let's give all the lawns a quick cut. We've got quite a lot in the grass collector. You can see how long those pieces are. That's not really ideal. You can talk about the 1/3 rule, but if that's the 1/3 rule, this, by the time I bring it down to a fairly decent height, you're going to be like at the back end of October, and by that point I'm hardly going to be cutting it, maybe like once, twice in November potentially. So not really worth it. I'd rather cut it down to 20 mil, the height that I want it to be now, so that we can kind of keep it there throughout the rest of autumn and into the winter. But yeah, let's get to the back. Let's do the same thing there. Now you can see with this one, we've taken quite a lot less off compared to what we took off at the front. The main reason is just with it sitting in the shade, but for October, I don't think you can really argue with the colour and the stripes. Now, True Grass that we put down, that will give you some colour from the nitrogen that's in there. You're going to get a little bit of a colour boost, not as much as what you'll get if a product contains something like iron. Like throughout winter, we probably will do the odd iron application on this. That is going to give it a green up, and really it is probably something we can do now, because although we've had a really dry summer, we're having a really wet autumn at the moment, so iron's going to help to dry the grass leaf out, but also it give you a nice little colour up through this time of the year as well. So let's do the last lawn, and we'll be boxed off. So there we go, we've given this lawn a cut. It's not looking too bad, however, we do have quite a few worm casts that we've squished. It's not about the lawn looking boss at the moment, it's about it being healthy and staying strong. And really what I've done in today's video is probably the most important thing you can do to your lawn this autumn. It's cutting it and giving it, you know, a light feed if it needs it, and depending on where your lawn is, giving it its last feed. But cutting your lawn now and keeping up that cutting schedule every 7 days, every 4 days, even every 3 days, you can still go out and take a little tiny amount off, because remember, when we're cutting it, we're promoting growth, we're promoting density for the lawn to actually thicken itself up. And the stronger it can be through autumn, the more dieback you can afford to have through winter. So don't be doing too much. If you're thinking of renovating now, I'm going to be honest with you, you've missed the boat. Some people might say you can renovate in October. You can, and you might get decent results within the first 3 to 4 weeks, but as we start to get then into November, your lawn's going to struggle. So try to do less. Less is more. This lawn is looking boss, and it's October. It doesn't look like the best lawn in the world, but I tell you what, for most people, they'd be happy with it. Yeah, there's a bit of weed grass, not going to kill anyone, we'll pull it at some point. And yeah, so if you've enjoyed today's video, or if you have found it useful, consider giving it a like. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I've got loads of lawn tip videos, loads of garden renovation stuff on here too, so feel free to subscribe and check those out if you haven't already. Over the next few weeks, through the rest of autumn, and even as we get into winter as well, I am going to be posting updates on all 3 lawns, showing you how things look and how things are progressing, because we don't just show the good on this channel, we show the good, the bad and the ugly. This lawn is it's in mostly shade now the entire day. It's only really that far side which is getting sun at the moment, or substantial sun. The other parts are getting none. So some people do have lawns in tricky areas. My lawns are problem lawns. The one at the front, it's always going to thrive, but hopefully if you're having issues with the lawn that you've got, then you might see similarities with mine, and actually you might be able to take a little bit of advice as to how to manage them back to strength when we get into the new year and whatnot. So yeah, less waffling from me. Nice one for watching, and yeah, cheers.